Hi there, I am Liz Hawker and I am the Managing Director of New Listings for Nasdaq. I'm here today live from Silicon Slopes Summit with Howard Wright, the Global Vice President of Startups for AWS. Is that right? Did I say that title right?
That's right. Thanks, Liz.
Thanks for being here. We're so happy to have you.
No, it's our pleasure to be here. As we mentioned earlier, I have not been here in over 30 years, and the last time I was in this building, as a reminder, I had a short and non-illustrious career in the NBA. And 30 years ago, we played the Utah Jazz. They blew us out, of course. I had one shining moment that is never going to be on anybody's 30 for 30 because nobody's ever going to do a last dance about this. But I got to steal the ball from John Stockton while I was guarding Karl Malone, and I made a layup over Mark Eaton. So that is my claim to basketball fame. And I remember that very vividly and very warmly.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Great history.
Yeah.
And here you are today working with one of NASDAQ's very long partners. You all went public with NASDAQ in 1997.
Yeah.
And you have been a great partner over the years and built an empire, AWS, and we continue to partner with you today.
No, we really appreciate the partnership. It is mutual admiration society in terms of the things that we've been able to achieve as a corporation, the partnerships that we've triangulated together to have startups build and then eventually IPO and be part of your organization. This has proven to be a fantastic, long-term, multiple-decade partnership, and that's what we aspire for even in our little startups business.
Well, I want to hear all about your startups. I'd like to hear, first of all, how you got to where you are today, and then I want to hear about your role at AWS and the work you're doing in the startup community.
Sure. My story is pretty boring. The luckiest guy that you'll ever meet. After a short and non-illustrious career, I came back to work at a couple multinationals. Then I was a CEO startup for a little bit, and I got an opportunity not too long ago to run this business for AWS, which is global startups. Our job and my job, I like to think that I have the best job in tech. We get to captivate the hearts and minds of the most important startups in the world and get them up and running on AWS. And we do that in a variety of ways, Liz. We invest $1 billion a year in incentives and in credits. We have access to go-to-market specialists. We have access to solutions architects and some of the best subject matter experts to help startups become the unicorns and the soonicorns that we see now in the space.
Amazing. Give me some examples of some startups that you all have partnered with over the years.
There's over 200,000 startups that have come through our turnstiles, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you've probably binged Netflix before. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you've probably stayed at an Airbnb. I'm going to suggest that you might have even gotten here in a Lyft or an Uber. Those are partners that were at one point startups, redefined what that entire vertical is, and this gig economy, and we're proud and humbled that they did it on AWS.
We know those brands well. Netflix, Lyft, Airbnb, we love them. So here you are. I understand you were in the Silicon Valley last week.
Yeah.
And now here you are at Silicon Slopes.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that.
So geography aside, there's a few 1,000 miles of difference, but a couple things that are happening simultaneously in some of the tech centers around the world. So let's think about Silicon Valley, let's think about Silicon Slopes, let's think about Tel Aviv, let's think about Austin, Texas, let's think about Shanghai. We're democratizing access to the cloud. So now a startup can start being cloud first, digital first, which eliminates a lot of the other hard startup risk and cost from years gone by. A partner in Silicon Valley on Sand Hill Road, I won't say the name because I don't know if he gave me permission to share this, but this might be one of the greatest times in the world. There's more VCs getting investing in startups, and there's more dry powder from those VCs. So two things are happening simultaneously, Liz, in that the PE firms are now coming down into growth. Growth is coming down into VC. VC is coming down into startup and seed and pre-seed. A great idea with a great team and access to the credits that we extend. I think folks, a great startup can be born relatively quickly and get to the highest form of their heights. And so the partner has shared that for years and years, they kind of waited at the B round. They would overpay for the premium of the B, knowing that that was the most likelihood that that startup was going to become the unicorn. They said with the ideas and the access that they can no longer wait for B, and so they have to come down into low A and pre-seed investing. And so these are some of the, there's plenty of dollars, there's plenty of ideas, and there's plenty of enthusiasm and access from us, AWS.
Okay, so let's pretend that I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And I'm interested in getting some little bit of help from AWS with my startup. Give me a couple of pieces of advice.
Sure.
As that entrepreneur.
Sure. So we hope the thing that you would email me at howard@amazon.com, we will get you up and running on our Activate program. Our Activate program provides access to the $1 billion in credits. We would assign a business development person, a solutions architect, a go-to-market person, even somebody to help you with your cap table if you wanted to.
It's that easy.
It's that easy to make sure that your MVP, your minimally viable product, was hardened, it was ready to go. You know about others in the ecosystem, you know about the vertical, you know who's getting funded, who's not getting funded. Is it fintech? Is it healthcare, life science? Is it something on the blockchain? We have probably the most subject matter experts in the free world in these very specific categories to help you, Liz, get your startup up and running.
Okay. So it's that easy. Just go to your website or email you, and we get connected that way. Well, this is really terrific. I would just love to hear, though, here in Utah at Silicon Slopes, the startup community seems to be thriving.
Yeah.
How are things going so far?
So far, so good. As I mentioned before, it's been 30 years since I've been back. I hope after today that they invite me back less than 30 years from now. Even hearing what's going on at Utah Tech and some of the other universities, the talent, the precision in the ideas, the creativity, the labs that they're building and building out. This, I think, is going to be one of those hubs that we're going to look back years from now and say, yeah, we were there in the early days when Utah was a connecting flight, but now it is a destination for some of the best and some of the brightest to come and start their startups right here in Utah.
Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you so much for not only being here and doing this interview with us, but also just for AWS in our long journey with Amazon. We really appreciate the partnership.
No, it is us that owe you the lion's share of the thank you in terms of with the Nasdaq and AWS partnership goes way, way back, and we wouldn't be here without you.
Thank you.
Thank you.